Hi, welcome to another episode of Lightbulbs with Natasha. I'm Natasha, as you all know, and today we are here at the Ziggy Hotel in West Hollywood. I am here with two amazing women who I'm so excited to interview. We're going to start off with Katie. Katie, who is the author and illustrator of Once Upon a Cocktail. And we are also here with Kristin. She is VP of Cocktails for Casamigos and LGBTQ. Kristin, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. Yeah, let's get right into it. We are starting off with some cocktails because we're talking cocktails a lot today. What is the first one? And since you are the one to tell us, what are we drinking first?
Well, I was going to give us the first cocktail. It's called the Untitled. It's from the Montrose Hotel in West Hollywood.
So yeah.
And the reason we have 3 cocktails to try today is that Springboard Hospitality were very much fundamental in the creation of this book. They were very supportive. We did lots of R&D. And they have 4 properties within the West Hollywood scope. Yeah. So we have 3 of those drinks today, each with a different guest. So this one's just for me, and this is the most boozy of them all, which is probably
great start.
And it's nothing to do with my personality at all.
Sure. So, well, cheers. Here, I'll
cheers.
Hello. Cheers, ladies.
Cheers. Cheers, everybody at
home.
Excited.
Cheers. Oh, that is strong.
It's strong. It's a good one to start.
It's so good, though. And I always love this cherry specifically.
Good Luxardo.
Oh my gosh. I get really annoyed when I go to a place and they don't have this in particular.
Right.
I'm like, well, now I don't even want the cocktail because the whole point is for this to be sitting at the bottom, soaking up all that alcohol.
That's right.
And I have it at the end. So.
Well, you can pull it out. There's no rules.
I know.
It's your drink.
It is.
Yeah, look, go
I'm
for
just
it.
going to let it get there. Yeah.
Tasty. I love a good spirit-forward cocktail.
Yes.
So do I.
There was actually, in the creation of the book, it was very hard to find really, really good spirit forwards. We only have maybe about 6 in the book represented, but this is one of them that passed the Sarah Ella Mangoni's approval, who's my collaborator on the book.
Yeah. So, shout out to Sarah.
Yes. Hello, Sarah.
I'm so excited, not just because of the cocktails, but because this is a very dynamic, inclusive interview because we're all coming together to talk about each other's story. And I'm so excited. So, you are the one who has brought us all together. So I want to start with you. And let's start with, Once Upon a Cocktail and how did it all begin? When did this all, when did you have that light bulb moment where you were like, I want to do this?
Thank you, Natasha. Yes. It started about 6 years ago. I think it's actually 7 now. I was illustrating a lot for bars and restaurants and doing branding. And I always loved when I had an illustration project for cocktails. It was just something romantic. I think Sex and the City did such a great job in imprinting cocktails into my brain that it just buys you so much more than going for a pint, right? You go for a pint with your friends, but you have cocktail feels like such luxury. And there's just, the way that they're presented and all the varieties. So I started in its infancy illustrating the premise of the book. Now, like any freelancer, I did that in a time where I call it the radio silence of illustration work. So it got shelved for about 4 years until we hit COVID. And then in COVID, due to my immigration status, I couldn't get any funding from anywhere. So I just stayed at home and drew. And one of the projects I got to complete was Once Upon a Cocktail. And it was that wave of, it was the end of 21. I met with my co-producer and it was the right time. You remember at that particular time that
I remember
the bans were starting to be lifted and we were starting to get back in person, and all the bartenders that I knew were so depressed and they've missed being this is their livelihoods, right?
Yeah, and they got affected really bad. I mean, they were one of the first to really get hit hard financially too. Yeah,
exactly. So with the help of my co-producer, we greenlit this project and he helped to get funding. But before it got greenlit, this is where I was introduced to Kristin. It was still it hadn't been cemented. I thought maybe I could work with one particular liquor brand, which is, maybe Casa was maybe my dream client to be able to do this. And, as working with a big profile brand, there's always design you know, it wasn't in the same aesthetics. Mm-hmm. So, but Nick was really great, and we managed to get funding from the City of West Hollywood. We managed to get help from Visit West Hollywood. And then I pulled in different sponsors from all the brands, and what it became was this village of people, the village being West Hollywood coming together, the bartenders coming together, the liquor brands coming together, and all creating this. Even the support of when we launched 6 months ago, we had 11 parties in 11 venues. It was the wildest thing that you could imagine.
A wild time. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's heavily supported. And there's not many projects that are based on friendship that really come to this kind of fruition. And again, I guess that leads into how your company started. It started with friendship, right?
100%.
You know, and this is, you know.
Yeah.
So it's been a long time coming.
It's been a long time coming.
Yes.
And we get to talk about it today. We get to try the drinks. So these drinks are in the book.
Yes.
And so then walk me through, how did you two connect? How did this, all unfold?
Andaz.
Yeah.
Andaz?
Andaz, West Hollywood, right over here. Yeah. I'm good friends with Emilio, who was F&B director at the time. Since then, he's moved up. But I'm close with a lot of the venues in West Hollywood at large. I was the one that originally sold in Casamigos. Been with the brand 9 years last month, and
Congratulations.
It's been quite a wild ride to say the least. But one that sold in Casamigos at a time when it was brand new, and getting it into venues within West Hollywood, Beverly Hills, downtown, you name it. And, so I work closely with people in the industry. I've been in the industry myself 18, 19 years, kind of on all different sides of it. I done cocktail serving. I worked at the Standard back in the day when I first moved out to Los Angeles back 06, 09, and ran that pool deck. And, right before Casamigos, was working at Gracias Madre, which specialized in agave-based spirits, all small batch artisanal concepts. At the time, we were really pushing the envelope with organic, fresh ingredients, batching at the time. Nobody was batching. Different salt mixture concepts, using edible flowers, as you can see.
I remember when that wave came, when it was like, what?
We were really doing it, and I mean, that was 11 years ago now that I was working there. I also worked at the Rooftop, Beverly Hills, the Thompson Group, used to be called 60, so these are just a couple places I worked, Mr. C, Beverly Hills. I mean, list goes on, but taking different pieces of that. So I'm a big industry lover. I'm all about kind of working together to build up something larger than yourself, and I think that's so important. The ego doesn't get in the way for me. It's about I
love that.
I think if you're doing something great and creative and pushing that envelope, I support it. And I saw what Katie wanted to do early on, like the idea of it. And of course, she's so talented with her illustrations. I mean, that speaks for itself. But supporting the bars and then the cocktails with I loved it. I was all about it. And of course,
it excited you, right?
I had a lot of, excited me, of course. And I had a lot of ideas for it. And so, Emilio kind of brought us together with the Andaz. And then he was doing a cocktail with a reposado, kind of a tiki concept. With coconut and cinnamon and those flavor profiles, pineapple. And then I was thinking, okay, well, can we do something at Trunks? Can we do something at Hotel Ziggy? And so on and so forth. And we had Stash, and the list goes on. And so I think collectively we had more features in the book than any other brand, correct?
Well, it's a testament to Kristin's, what she has done is she, took a brand and she has got these placements all around town. And actually, Sarah, my collaborator, when we were going around doing the cocktail tasting, a lot of the time we couldn't help but find another, a Casa brand in a cocktail. It was, I think you originally sponsored one placement, but we ended up with 5.
Wow.
And when we were doing Trunks, which is a notorious, fabulous gay bar down in Santa Monica in the Rainbow District, it's not necessarily known for cocktails. It's known for very stiff drinks. And it's such a... And
I've been there.
And I think I'd had a conversation with you at that time. Yeah, and both dear to our hearts is representing a city that's not just about high-end cocktails. It's also, where do you go to get bespoke beer? Where do you get craft beer from? And we have a couple of venues around town that do that, so let's put those in. So it became a book about drinking and a book about people. And a book about people means that I turn back to Kristin and I'm like, so I've got Trunks I really want to put in, but what do you think? And she's like, I think we should do a mezcal shot, and I think we should elevate it with an orange slice. And it really embodied that kind of thing. And we've got places in the book with vodka soda, because, they might not necessarily be known, again, for cocktails, but they're known for good times. And who doesn't love a highball? I mean, whoopsies.
But that's also very much West Hollywood
at
large. If 100%. You're looking at the dead smack of WeHo, Boys Town, it is stiff drinks, and more simple cocktails. and so, yeah, it's very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's been a really wonderful friendship, I think, and I just really appreciated the support. It's really hard. I don't know anything about cocktails or drinking, really. It's, Sarah's been educating me. People like, Emilio, Tobin, who we're about to bring in, and Kristin. Like, I am a sponge for learning on the fly. So
but I love that. I love that they could feel your excitement and they knew your intention was so pure and so good. Yeah. And I think that's what correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's what gravitates, because when you talk about it, I'm like, I get excited.
Yes. It was that mixed with also just something super creative. I love creativity. I love outside thinking. And I think that's what stood out for me too, is that here's an idea that I haven't seen done. I want to be on board with that. Yeah. And it's being done in a really cool way.
Absolutely.
And so
especially
I saw that
at
as a major opportunity.
Yeah. I mean, the time is, you say that this has been a concept for the last 6-7 years. However, it was shelved. But in a way, it came at a perfect time, because it came at a time where everyone was locked up. They couldn't go and have their fun and socialize. And then this came from that. And I think that's really, really, I think the timing works in mysterious ways.
Well, actually, the book is dedicated to divine time. And that's been a very big thing because, obviously with lots of different sponsors, they're like, when's the book coming out? And the book may have not gone to print yet. And the book will get done when it gets done, right? Yeah. Like, there was no controlling that. I was essentially one person controlling all the different variables. Sarah was on her lifelong tour in a van. So I got Sarah whenever I could, and she was amazing. But it was... divine time was everything. And I think, if I created the book 6-7 years ago, it wouldn't have been the same energy. And even when we first started talking about it, it started with maybe 50 pages. We're now 200 pages.
That's amazing.
Oh, yeah.
50 to go from 50 pages to 200 pages. That just means the creativity fireworks were all over, right?
Well, more and more bars wanted to be involved, more and more bartenders. It was breathing, and it was maybe spread further than COVID did. Maybe. I don't know. But
definitely a lot more fun than COVID.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to go back to those COVID days. No. Man, no. I missed socializing so much, because I love going out and having a good cocktail and just meeting people. I mean, you never know who you're going to meet at the bar. And I think that's why I'm so excited. Well, I was so excited when it all happened. I was the first one out.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
And so Chris, when it comes to you've been with Casamigos now for 9 years, you said.
9 years. Right. I started 2015, the week before Cinco de Mayo. Okay. 9 years ago, and never looked back.
This was before this is still, let's highlight.
Let's give a little salute to that one.
I know. Cheers. Cheers, ladies.
Love that.
Okay.
And this is the Witchy Woman from Hotel Ziggy. Witchy Woman, named after the Don Henley song, and created by Tobin, Sarah, and Isaac, part of the Springboard Hospitality. So thank you, and sponsored by Kristin.
Sponsored by Casamigos. This has featuring Casamigos Reposado, so it's a little bit full body, little oaky, some vanilla notes in there.
This is so good.
The Reposado is also our flagship. That was the first created for Casamigos. It's what the founders, George Clooney, Randy Gerber, Mike Meldman drink, generally just over ice. Really balanced tequila, and then this has some fresh lime juice, a little bit of prickly pear puree, and a little bit of a orange liqueur as well.
Wow. This is a great one.
It's delicious.
I love that. I mean, I love the other one, but they're very different. If you're trying to compare a spirit-forward cocktail to something like that, it's just different.
This has citrus, right?
It has citrus,
It's entirely different flavor profile. The first one we had is... it's all spirit forward, so you're tasting more of the booze, if you will. But very different flavor profiles. Yeah.
So you've been with Casamigos for 9 years. However, let's highlight that you were with Casamigos before they became Casamigos.
Before they were known as what we are today. Yeah. I was selling it when, there was a time when nobody knew what it was, and I had a lot of pushback, and people didn't want to bring it on, and they knew George Clooney was attached. But I think when people hear the story about how it was created, it changed their mind. At least it did for me. I was bartending at Gracias Madre at the time when I first learned of Casamigos, because we at the time were one of the only bars that carried it, because it was so new, but it was also very small batch artisanal at that time because it was so new.
It wasn't so mass produced.
Correct. And but once I learned this story, I found it very interesting. We live in LA where celebrities are attached to everything, and sometimes it doesn't feel so authentic. But what I loved about this was that, you have George Clooney, Randy Gerber, and Mike Melvin. They've all been friends for a long time, and they have homes in Cabo San Lucas. In that area there, they've been calling Casamigos for years, which roughly means House of Friends. And the intention was they wanted to create an ultra smooth sipping tequila to share with their friends and family.
Yep.
So it was actually really created for them initially, and what happened is they went through about 2,000 bottles in 2 years. It was no longer considered a sample size. Tequila is highly regulated in the Mexican culture, so was mezcal. And they were like, look, you guys either stop selling this or giving it. They thought they were selling it, which they were just, they got a lot of friends. And they like to party. So at that point, they were like, no, we want to continue to have this. Put a label on it, started somewhat launching it in 2013. We started getting more traction in 2015. And we're now an 11-year-old company, largest premium tequila on the planet, going to do over 3 million cases this year worldwide, and nothing's slowing down. I mean, it's just the consumer call for our brand is second to none, and it's really wild to watch that, see it all to come to fruition, and especially be a key person in that process and build it out. And we just launched a brand new jalapeno tequila, which is essentially our Blanco with naturally, flavor profiles of jalapeno. It's really dynamic. You get the aroma of that. You get the spice from that of fresh, sliced jalapenos with a little bit of cooked and heat just right. And then it's, pure Casamigos fashion. You could pour it neat, pour it over ice, pour it with very little and consume it, and also put it in cocktails. So, we're doing a lot of things. We also launched a Cristalino last summer, which is very new as well. A lot of people don't know what Cristalinos are, but it's the newest, hottest thing in Mexico. I was in Mexico City last April, and I saw more Cristalinos on the back bars at these hot spots in Mexico City than I did even Reposados. It's essentially an aged tequila. It was created about 12 years ago with you have like a Blanco and a Reposado and an Añejo, these classifications, right? There's now a Cristalino category.
I haven't. I'm so new to this.
It's really interesting. That's why I did want to talk about it, because it is new to that space. There's probably about a little over 24 Cristalinos on the market in Mexico right now. You're starting to see a little bit of that trickle into the U.S. But what makes it so exciting for us is we're one of the only premium tequilas to offer an extension of a Cristalino that have a full line essentially. And what it is an aged tequila. So it can be añejo based, extra añejo. Ours Reposado based because that's our flagship. That's what the founders drink. It makes sense for our brand for that. And then it goes through charcoal filtration at the end. So for us, we build it the same way. We age it 7 months, small 200-liter American white oak recharred barrel, takes on those flavor profiles. And then the charcoal filtration at the end naturally strips the color. So it's clear in color, which is what Cristalino means, crystal clear.
Okay.
And it removes the woodier notes of the aged tequila, but it still keeps the integrity, the smoothness, the complexity of that. And then it brings in some of the better Blanco notes, which tend to be crisp, clean, and citrusy. So I say it's like, it's the best of our Blanco, best of our Reposado without the woodier notes blended together in one bottle.
Yeah.
And then what you have is an incredibly smooth and refined tasting tequila.
Ooh, my gosh.
It's
you even got some
delicious.
samples of that?
Yeah,
right
I know.
now?
We'll have to do that after.
I'm like,
but it is really, really smooth, and because it is clear in color, it's taking over a huge female demographic as well. Because I'm generalizing, but a lot of women don't like brown spirits, so that's interesting to kind of see how that all plays out.
Oh, that's intriguing.
Yeah. But Cristalino martinis all day with a little bit of Blanc vermouth, lemon oils from the peel, Cristalino cucumber mint mojitos, things of that nature really help keep the integrity of the spirit, and super, super tasty. Yeah.
Wow. You could tell you do your homework, like you study up, and you know this stuff. Maybe not even. Maybe it just sticks already at this point. Like you.
Well, for me, I've bartended for 10 plus years. I've been in the industry for about 18. Like I said, I love to travel. A lot of tasting over and over again. I've created easily over 400 plus recipes for Casamigos at large, for the brand, for different various applications that we may use them for.
Right.
And we now have 6 products. We have a Blanco, Reposado, Añejo, Mezcal, the Cristalino, and then the Jalapeno tequila. And so it's so much fun as an artist, creating cocktails to work within the agave-based spirit world, because like I was saying earlier, you can create anything with it. It's so dynamic with the different flavor profiles. So it's a lot of fun to build those out.
That must be amazing, though. That must be amazing in general as you two, because I see you two as artists, really. And the fact that you have so much creativity coming out of your minds, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's got to be, what's that like, by the way? It's like, do you even can you even just relax at any point? Because I feel like your guys' minds are constantly just creating or like going. Is that accurate? It's dangerous?
Dangerous, yeah.
Yeah.
I once had a day off and I created a new business.
Did you?
Yeah, and I got a phone call that morning. I was meditating and a new business created out of that. So yeah, it's dangerous being allowed to sit with your own thoughts for
I think I love it, but I think the challenge is it's never ending, right? Like you're never finished.
Yeah.
And so it's fun, but I know for me sometimes I just wish I could just like relax, and that's a hard thing for me to do sometimes.
Yeah. I mean, because even when you're traveling, I'm sure you're researching as well,
100%.
and you're trying to see how can I implement this, this into this, or how do we get to here? I mean, I'm sure it's constant.
Always.
Yeah.
Do you always improve on the cocktails that you've made? Like,
Ooh, that's a great
I know
question.
with illustration, I get to a point and I'm just like, I'm done. It feels like it's done. It could always be better, but like I'm just content. Like it's done. But just like, do you have that similar with creation of cocktails?
So I create cocktail sheets for the company where it's essentially 6 cocktails with 6 recipes formatted. We do it a certain way, and all these sheets go out to all the Casamigo reps nationally, right? And then also on the southern side, which is our distributor, and then they pitch these cocktails to various establishments, anywhere from like a Hotel Ziggy hotel to a dive bar, to whatever the programming is.
Yeah.
And so with that being said, we're constantly. It's a work in progress where we're going through. And the other week, I just had a 2-day cocktail shoot where we just shot a bunch of new content for the Casamigos Jalapeno Tequila, as well as a bunch of stuff for Pride. We got Pride coming up, which is super exciting. And so, all of these things, it's a work in progress. If we have new content for imagery, we'll plug that in. If I find there's a better way to streamline a recipe that it can like go more to the masses or cut costs, or I look at every thing,
little aspect,
because we have to. We're so large now. One of the things was when I was doing this when we were much smaller, it was all about kind of more off the wall, syrups that we can make or things like that. But as you grow in scale, it's really about accessibility. It's really about can Middle America get the same products more or less than what we're trying to pitch in these metropolitan cities, and some of it yes, some of it no, but it's like about how to streamline it in a way where they can make these cocktails too, because that's important, and so that became a new challenge for me creatively, was like, how can we make something that's not so basic, but then the flavor profiles are perfect to get the same balance and the integrity of the cocktail, and be somewhat fun in the garnish game, but not too obscure, off the wall. You know what I mean? And
absolutely.
And then build it out in those ways, and then it's just really about like fresh concepts, and maybe the glassware, maybe the ice,
there's so much that goes into that, right? There's so much that goes into that.
There's so many layers to look at. So to answer your question, it's never ending. I'll go back and make some tweaks. There are certain recipes to me that I feel like I don't want to touch, because to me, they're perfect in the way that it's minimal ingredients. The specs are perfect, and the garnish makes sense. Where, like, for example, I made a mezcal Negroni, right? Which is one of my personal favorite cocktails. I love smoking. I love booze forward, like you, booze forward. But I took the idea of like, you have a really simple cocktail that generally has gin, right? You plug in Casamigos mezcal, so an ounce of that, ounce of Campari, an ounce of sweet vermouth. I like Dolan because it's not too thick with, and it has a great price point. And then instead of doing an orange peel garnish, I'll do 2 dashes of orange bitters. So there's your orange element, right? And then for the garnish, what I'll do is I'll take a big grapefruit peel, right? Express the oils of that over top, and then char that, and then lay that in with a big ice block. So now you just have like 2 other layers. You have the char from the peel, and then you have the grapefruit, which does something really great with mezcal and Campari at large. Those flavor profiles always blend, always work well together. And it's just like that simple, subtle tweak that completely changes that cocktail in a much better way. But you're still not changing the entire cocktail to where like these accounts can still get these ingredients. It's not too hard to char a peel. And it speaks in it to the smokiness of the mezcal and everything else. So little things like that. There's certain recipes where like I'm like that I wouldn't change it.
You wouldn't change it at all. Okay.
Yeah,
that makes sense. By the way, Negroni is my favorite cocktail, so I have to try that because I've always been so like I don't want to stray away from the original. That's my mentality, but I'm like, all right, I got to try that. So we got to try that cocktail.
100%.
What I've loved working with bartenders, it happened to be my birthday in the middle of creating this book. one of the birthdays, because it went through 2 years of transition, but I took everybody to Gracias Madre, right?
Yeah.
And Max Reese
I love that place,
was
by the way.
Max is great.
he is phenomenal.
He's very talented.
He builds equipment. He builds fridges. He builds all these things. He's like so he came over and he was talking to all my friends and he was like talking about each different drink. And then basically we ended up ordering every single one of them. What I love it when you really engage with a bartender, they, can convince you of anything. Like, I want to drink the Negroni now. I want to, it's just because it's just.
They can convince you to break up with your girlfriend. Are you kidding me? That's what they've done. I'm just saying, like, oh my gosh, they're therapy for sure. But sorry.
Yeah. But I just say it's just because they talk about it with such passion, and this town is full of like incredible talent.
Yeah,
like that,
the cocktail game here is like I don't feel like they get enough. Well, maybe they do now, but I don't feel like they've gotten enough credit. They've always compared it to New York so much, and I'm like, don't compare it. It's its own. It's its own thing. Yeah. And you got to respect that too. New York is its own thing, but we're our own thing too.
Right.
The closest thing would be downtown LA, but like would be the area West Hollywood. Not so much because we're known as good times.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
When it does come to ingredients, I will say that we are super fortunate living in California because we have produce,
I know,
essentially
right?
herbs and things like that available to us, year round, where a lot of other areas within the U.S. do not. So for that, you'll see a lot of like herbs and things like that on cocktails, where New York necessarily wouldn't do that.
Yeah, I agree. That's actually a very good point. I never thought of it that way.
As Naomi Shemek of Soulmate, she goes foraging at weekends and she finds ingredients and so there's just some incredible, just beautiful people.
There's
doing
so many
really
beautiful
imaginative things,
and everyone does want to help you. Like, let's not say in a general sense, but in this sense of community, I think that people do want to help each other. And this book, I think, is a sign of that. Is that it brought people together and to want to put their creation in so that it could be, out there for the world. And I think so. So I have a question for you is how many times did you want to edit that? Or do you still do you look at that book or any page and say, I want to redo this? Or
I have a process where like, if I think it's good enough and it's gone to print, it's good enough.
Okay. So you're able to
really let go.
Okay.
I have a really good friend who has helped me get through emotionally through this book, who is a brilliant graphic designer. And I threw it in her path at one point when I was figuring out what the pages look like. It's like, hey, what would you do with this?
Okay.
And I really love what she did. So it's nice to see what other people would do with your work. So maybe as another direction, if I was doing a reprint, I would definitely enlist my friend to kind of, because I think it's sometimes I am too emotionally attached to this. I've been getting logos. I've been, I wrote the history. Like I did, I've done
so, your baby.
I'm so attached to it that I often think it's really important to have outside opinion.
Right.
So I think if I was to do another iteration, of which I would love to, there's a lot of bars that have recently passed away. The reason we're doing this podcast today is we are losing so many businesses in this town.
Yeah.
I think across the world in general, due to the times that we're in. And I will have a couple of pages that are called like the bar morgue. Ooh. And it will remove the recipes that have passed on because there's still great recipes and still great bars.
Yeah, you could still keep them alive in a way.
Yeah.
You could keep them alive in your home,
and then replace them with the other up and coming bars that have snuck in. So
that makes sense. I think that's a great way to do that.
That would be my only improvement. It would be to do something like that.
Right.
It would be to just always the book is very much about past, present and future, so we're always honoring the past. So that having a bar morgue or the cemetery of the bars or I don't know, there's been many names that we should throw around, but I also kind of like throwing death into things because death is also an important part of the cycle of life.
Very true. That's very true.
Yes.
But I like that element that you're talking about. That was following up to my next question was, would you consider another one? Where there's so much here that it doesn't fit into one book. There's, jalapeno now, like tequila for Casamigos,
and the Cristalino came after too.
Were there things that you kind of were like, it's too late, it's printed, and I wish I would have included that into this book?
Always.
There's always so much creativity.
There is always. We're in talks of maybe a TV show, and it would be the whole of LA. rather than just being West Hollywood eccentric. I think, we would definitely highlight a few of those bars.
Of course.
But my second city I would love to do a book and a TV show in, of course, would be Vegas. I would love to do Vegas. I think,
yeah, they got their stuff together for sure.
There's been enough books on New York. I think maybe if I ever get so fortunate to have 10 books of, Once Upon a Cocktail, definitely would approach New York or London at that point. But I like picking cities that have such a juxtaposition with their language. Like when I first went to Vegas, I was just like, whoo, I'm going to go to a spa. It was too much energy. Second time I went to Vegas, I did all the toothless spas. So, there was an old man with no teeth in that was selling arse juice. It was just crazy stickers everywhere. He stuck to the floor. And then there were other dive bars. There were strip bars that we went, there was this whole scene. And I was just like, oh, I'm starting to understand Vegas. And then the third time I went in, I did all the bougie. And I think that, if I am allowed to say, my talent is telling stories, and there is definitely the correlation of the two, and we need the two. I want to go to a bar that the bartender's drinking at. I also want to go. I also want to. I also want to go in the bar that you have to go in because everyone's talking about it. So I want to do all of those things, but I want a well-rounded. So my 3 trips to Vegas were very much, and those would be the stories that I want to tell.
I like that. I would love to.
Yes.
That's very
see
cool.
what you do with that.
Love that.
Yeah, catch all elements of it and all personality types, and Vegas is an interesting town, I will say, and I mean that in a great way. I mean, I haven't always had the best time there, but in terms of, usually it's because of my birthday, and you just always go too far on your birthday, and I did that in Vegas. But other than that, when you actually take the time to explore the town, even not just the main strip, and you go outside of it, there's some amazing people there and creativity.
And quirky museums. It's just
100%.
it's great.
Yeah.
And then the third book would be something like Melbourne versus Sydney in Australia. Completely changed the dynamic of it. So they've got notorious dynamite between the two of them, and a lot of it goes back to football, Aussie rules football. So you've got the competitiveness, and one's always got better coffee than the other, one's got better food than the other. And it'd be really nice to tell those stories.
Wow.
And I would do the book, the front would be Sydney, and then you turn it over to the back and turn it round, and it would be Melbourne.
Oh,
so,
wow.
So really throw it on its edge.
Like I said, creativity just...
This is why I'm not allowed to think.
This is why we need to keep you busy.
Yes.
Well, what's interesting about Australia is, as far as tequila is concerned, there's been an uptick on people drinking more tequila than ever worldwide, but tequila's never been a big thing in Australia, and more people are drinking it right now, which is very interesting.
That is, because I would also assume that. I would assume that tequila is not really a thing there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But that is really cool.
Yeah, and for Vegas, we launched the Cristalino last summer, and we have a great partnership with Win and Encore Group, and they have their excess property where they get all the the best DJs to come out and perform and things like that. So we did a big industry event there featuring the Cristalino, where we were pouring it through these ice luges that had the Casamigos logo and everything, and we paired it with doing chilled shots where the shot glass was actually made out of ice.
Oh, that's awesome.
And people could come up, pour it, do a shot, and then we paired it with black caviar and lemon oils from the peel, and we were doing frozen cocktails with the Cristalino with watermelon mint and a lemonade concept, and I was in charge of a lot of the cocktailization for that.
Dang, that sounds amazing.
fun.
I wish I would have been at that party.
Yeah, yeah, that was a good one.
Yeah, we would have been. Slush.
Slush. Yeah.
Okay, so when it comes to making this book, because it was a lot. Obviously, it's a 7-year, making, and it's finally out. And you say you're okay with letting that go. It's out there for the world. And then, how was it the reception wise? How did you feel about it once it was out for people?
I still can't read it.
Really?
No,
Oh,
I can't read it. I
wow.
can barely look at it. Just because it was just so much all the time. But it's been really wonderful, and I'm going to introduce you in a minute to Tobin. And what was really lovely about Tobin, who he's the nightlife manager here at Ziggy. He's bought several copies from me personally, and he gave one to his mom. And his mom has read it from back to front, and she came out we were doing these mixology classes. We did one at Fred Siegel, and she made a beeline for me, and she was just like, I see what you've done. Like, I understand it. And it's been it's been moments like that when, you know, obviously she's extremely proud of her son being part of this book and what he's accomplished. But hearing it from a mom, it was just like, you know, my mum's always going to say I'm wonderful. And bless her for that. Thank you, Mum. Happy with the Mother's Day too. But yeah, it was just really, you know, she could see what I was trying to do to uplift people, which, you know, I don't mean that to sound like egotistical, but just like I really wanted to, like, you know, put people's names in books. And I think he's at the door. Maybe we should bring him in.
I think so, yeah. He's, well, you should probably... Should we text him?
My phone's over there.
Yeah. And then we'll be drinking this next cocktail.
Oh,
with him.
yes.
But really quick before you sit down.
Yes.
If there were a tip to give to people who are writing anything and trying to put it out, like, was there anything with writing this book that you would say to another author, another illustrator, to keep an eye on or to think about before they release it?
Well, I think, as we mentioned, it's when I first showed it to Kristin, it was 50 pages. It ended up being 200 pages. Okay. It ended up being, and who knew I needed a cocktail curator? That was one of the first things that happened. I brought Sarah on because I probably would have just printed a recipe, which wouldn't have been, you know, such a successful book because you wouldn't have been able to probably make it. And every bartender has a different voice.
Of course.
Then. Who knew we needed recipe checks? We spent 3 days remaking all the recipes.
Okay.
So I guess I was super naive, and once I had landed my feet, like this is happening, started receiving money, I mean, I had no choice but to go with the next stage and the next stage and the next stage. So it was kind of a good thing, because I think if I'd have known that we'd have been 200 pages, 2 years in the making, with recipe checks and all the crazy that went with it, I probably would not have done it.
Yeah.
It's just too much, unless you can bring in a team. So I guess any advice to anybody would be, don't do it. No, it wouldn't be that. It would be, we should always pursue our dream. And I just think just allow the process to be the process, because you can't control the time, you can't control the people. You know, I was devastated when one bar started shutting after another, and then I was just like, oh, you know, this, but it still goes back in the language that I was saying. So always try and pivot to a positive scenario would be my suggestion, and just baby step it. Because if you did write a list of things that needed to be done, you'd never achieve it.
Right. And then ask for help too, I guess. Also, like,
it's always really difficult.
lean for maybe someone who, and especially not having that ego and saying like, oh, I know what I'm doing and I'm gonna just do it my way. It's like, no, there's people who have been in this, and let's ask for their help, who have done this for, 18 years and who have that record of being able to execute an amazing cocktail, because that's what the purpose is for people to really enjoy it. Right.
Well, what I love about the bartending industry in particular, I don't feel anybody ever is like, well, I know more than you, because it's such a, and I think that's the same as being a creative, and it's a wrong foot to be on. You should never always assume you know everything.
Oh yeah.
So I never assume that I'm the smartest person in the room ever.
Yeah, no, I never go into it. I go into it the other way. I'm like, I don't know much. I'm going to go into a room with people who know more than me, and I'm in a position of just service and learning. Yeah. And I've learned so much already in this. I don't even know how long it's been already, but I've learned already so much.
You haven't drunk any of your cocktails.
I have. Look at this.
I know.
It's going. If anything, I've been drinking more than you guys. So
does that mean I've been talking more? Probably.
There's always something to learn. That's for certain. And it's almost like the more that you do learn, you realize you know nothing.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, you've been in this industry for so long, and you are in a position, let's be honest, you are in a position to come into a room and say, like, I have the experience, I know a lot, but the fact that you don't walk into that room and say, I know everything, and I'm, is great. And I think that's the kind of people I want to always surround myself with. We live in a town where, you're trying to be somebody. I get it. You're trying to be somebody. I'm trying to be somebody. But I don't ever want to go into a room thinking I am somebody, if that makes sense. Yeah. I hope that translated right.
Yeah. I think being humble is super important. But there's always something to learn. 100%. And if you think you know everything, then you're stunting your growth. Yeah. In any capacity.
And not belittling people. You never belittled me once. You're like, I clearly knew nothing about drinking. Or cocktails. And, at no point have you ever done it. It's always been a very educational, the way that you speak to me.
Thank you. I try to be,
Yeah, it's been, and the same with Sarah, and I'm learning, and I will never ever take that role. But I'm starting to know a few things.
So have you? What are you like? What's your shake like? What's your stir like? Have you learned?
I worked an event the other week, and I had to batch the cocktails, and they were right. But I followed to the T Sarah's recipe. I think we can always follow a recipe. But you never want to drink my cocktails. I'll end up having wasabi and ice cream in it. Like, I've been known when I lived in Australia for 10 years, and I would always bring a bottle of absinthe and light it up and do things.
Oh, wow.
And then I'd go into someone's kitchen and I'd start making cocktails and, get everybody annihilated. Do not drink them. If I give you a drink, don't drink it. They're not necessarily.
I don't want to drink it. I'm not going to lie. I don't want to drink it.
Cocktails sound very boozy.
We should have. I wish we had the other mic so we could just go walk to the bar and watch you make a drink. That would be fun.
For the next episode.
That would be fun.
Yeah, for the next episode. Yeah. So, okay, where is the book available? I would love to know that. I think people need to know where this is available.
Well, it goes back to your last conversation. I never knew that I would have to run sales.
Hey.
That's a whole other beast.
Yeah. And just to rewind it back is like when I was raising the money to do the print run, the reason I managed to get the print run was because of Springboard. The reason we're here today is because of Springboard Hospitality. They bought a book for every single room. That was 510 copies. That took my threshold for my orders. It managed to get my book down to a manageable price.
Okay.
These are the things I didn't think of 7 years ago or 2 and a half years.
People think that goes into it.
Yeah. So all of a sudden I'm learning all these things on the fly. And then obviously I have 4,500 books land. Then I have to figure out where they're going to go to. So lucky enough, I'm friends with a lot of people. Mm-hmm. So we had the shipment arrive at the Andaz. And then my collaborator, Sarah, has a van. So we unloaded everything and we did the distribution.
Wow.
But we were really lucky. Again, the city of West Hollywood bought books. The Chamber of Commerce heavily supported us and have been amazing. They bought some books to sell.
Yeah.
And then we did the distribution and I managed to get it into Fred Siegel. Like before they landed, I've managed to sell 70% of my inventory. So Fred Siegel have been huge. Like every time they get inventory, they sell out. Book Soup were another one. I managed to find a back door at Book Soup. Usually you have to do consignment, so you pay to be a consignment. Yeah. Then you give them 5 books. Then maybe they sell, they give you some money. It's fantastic if you're a young author. But we had put so much into it, and there's a Book Soup just up the road. I was just like, guys, you must be able to help us. There must be a way. So then they bought 12 books, and then they've had a repeat order. We're in a couple of design stores like Akatama Home. I apologize, Julie, I can't pronounce it. That's down on Melrose, Petrosian, Sir Restaurant Bar and Grill. Actually, I think it's Sir Restaurant Bar and Restaurant.
Right. Mm-hmm.
They've been massive. And then I've got downtown. We're in the last bookstore. That was obviously like incredible to be in there.
Yeah.
Because it's one of LA's legend bookstores.
Oh yeah.
So I have hustled. Like
Girl, you hustled.
I hustled, and I don't have a car, so I'm known to get on a bus with 12 books and go downtown. And
I was
get a
stunned,
train.
by the way, when we met up for coffee, and I was like, "You don't have a car." I was like, "I admire you so much for that."
Very challenging in Los Angeles.
Yep.
It's so like I could full on say I could never do that. I can't.
It's always the best, and especially when you're carrying so much weight.
Yeah.
I'm like carrying 40 pounds, so it's like a lot.
Well, that's your workout regimen.
That's your workout right there. Maybe I should do that.
But how do you build a brand? Like I didn't put into the price point a price of an Uber or a price of things.
Right.
So it makes sense for me to get a bus for $175.
Right.
So yeah, just.
And I don't think people think about that. I mean, really, really take that in. It's like you did not price in an Uber, a car payment, how to get these books to where they need to go.
No. But like I said, I would have never done the book if I'd have known really what went into it. It's just like, it is lunatic. But yeah, you can pretty much, and then setting up an Amazon account is hell. Eventually when you figure it out, I mean, it's not necessarily who I want you to buy it from, because I'd rather you go to Book Soup and Fred Siegel and smaller boutiques, or come to Springboard, stay in a hotel, buy one from the room.
Right. But it's understandable. You want your creation to get in front of anybody.
I don't want to be in a situation where you'd be like, where can I buy my book? And it becomes difficult. So here's a coaster, scan the back of it and buy it from Amazon and put it in your cart.
Smart.
And it's been, those different things. So I've had a lot of angels.
Yes, you have. And I mean, I think that's a token of what you have done on the back end in building relationships. And I think people, I mean, I'll speak for myself, but I mean, it just took a coffee with you and not even 30 minutes for us to really just be vulnerable. And I told you, remember, I got deep and I told you about my breakdown last year and how I felt like I just wanted to give up. And then that, I think, gave you the space to tell me where you're at. And then I'm like, well, let's talk about it. Let's help each other out. And that's what this show is about. This show is about, you know, all of us just getting a little vulnerable maybe at one point and saying like, hey, this is what we did and we just want you to support it. Just support what you can in any way that you can. And yeah, I think that tells a lot about you, and we want to show up for you. And then the second that she called you and said, hey, would you mind doing this? You said yes, and I was like, that's awesome.
100%. I love it. I love the creativity. Our illustrations are beautiful, and in any way you could support the community, especially at that time, to me was a no-brainer.
Yeah.
You know, and then also get some exposure, and you never know, like you were talking about, you want to do a second, a third book and build it out. I mean, so there's always opportunity of where we can grow deeper with our partnership with Casamigos at large as well.
Yeah.
TV show.
TV show.
TV show.
Yeah.
Love it.
It's in the works.
Is it like a Real Housewives TV show where you're visiting and it's like reality, or more?
It's kind of a reality talk show with a lot of history. So it's kind of like Anthony Bourdain, like it's all those things. And in the pitch that I've put, that we're just raising money for the pilot, I have a helicopter landing in the middle of the room. Because I'm just like, if I'm going to pitch something, I'm going to go hard, right?
Yes,
so I've got so there's a famous song that I love from the UK that it's this character that's walking down the street, which obviously might be me and Sarah, and then all these people kind of join in.
Okay.
And then you've got all the drag queens coming out, the drag kings, all the boys with the hot pants on. You've got us getting shots at the Hatchet, the Naughty Pig.
Yeah.
And then we finish down in the Rainbow District on the Rainbow Crosswalk, and then the helicopter lands. And then we get in the helicopter, and now there's 2 helicopter pads in West Hollywood. And I want to be the first person to ever do a helicopter pub crawl.
Oh my god!
So we go from one to the other.
I love this idea.
So now I've just got to raise the money to pay for the helicopter.
And I want to be in that helicopter.
How much is a helicopter ride these days?
How much is that? What do we need to raise to get this helicopter?
Uber had a helicopter service at one point.
What?
Yeah, you could get a helicopter.
Is that true?
Uber.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
Yeah,
I had no idea.
Nanosecond. Yeah.
Well,
Let's
Uber,
get it back. Can we have it back, please?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's such a wow. The creativity.
Yeah. So then it
That's
leads you
amazing.
into the next, segment. So yeah.
Fun.
Yeah.
I love it.
Okay, so this show needs to happen. That's for damn sure.
Yeah. There's a lot of other things that happen in the show, but yeah.
But that's the kind of
Like making cocktails, maybe.
Yeah.
and
talking
visiting
to
every cocktail.
and
in this book,
talking about the
200.
history, like the past, present, and the future of a property, and the drinks that they would have drank in the middle of the time. So in those particular times.
That is really true, though. I really like that concept, though, especially because there's so much history behind a cocktail. Especially if you go to the old school cocktails, especially obviously the spirit forward ones. There's so much history in that.
Well, we live on Sunset. Well, I live on Sunset Strip, and this is heavily, represented in here. There are tunnels for Prohibition, like secret tunnels in people's houses and in some of the properties around here where they used to push the booze around. So, this is the legacy that we had. The Sunset Strip is like everybody came here, and the juxtaposition of moving from the strip to the other strip makes sense from one book to the other, because the Sunset Strip moving to the Vegas Strip. This was the strip before
100%.
Vegas happened. And in fact, it was Billy Wilkinson that created the property that was the Comedy Store. Yeah. And then he opened the Flamingo before, I think he was murdered. Yeah. By gangsters.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's a synergy of like from one to the other.
Did you get to visit any of these properties that had those tunnels?
Not yet.
Oh, we got to find one.
I know.
I want to find one.
I
Do
would
you know?
I do not know, but I would love to.
If anybody has
get involved on that adventure.
Yeah. I would love to I would love to visit that.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's so cool. I had no idea that was
so
still
like
around.
Prohibition, and they were like in the book we've got an amazing timeline that talks about world history, women's history, cocktail history, and West Hollywood's history. And so then there's a little snapshot of like it was when Prohibition was lifted, everybody protested.
Yeah.
Believe it or not.
Yeah, I know. Isn't that
So many religious
interesting
people.
thing to think of now?
Yeah.
Isn't it weird to think that there was a prohibition in general? And it's like you can never imagine that now.
Yeah.
Not
And
at
it
all.
was Billy Wilkinson that had the foresight. I think it was him that he knew it was going to get lifted. So I think he got on a boat to France, brought back loads of liquor. And so, that's why the success that happened in that particular location happened so quickly, because he had all the champagne.
Among other things, I'm sure.
We only had bootleg liquor over here.
Yeah.
Bathtub gin and stuff.
Bathtub gin.
Yes.
You're right. Bathtub gin. I love gin, by the way. That's my favorite. What's your favorite spirit?
All of them, apart from anything with peach in.
What's your? Oh well, I would say, is it tequila or no?
My favorite's was tequila mezcal before Casamigos. I mean, it still is true,
And that's why you gravitated so much towards
also,
them.
like I like the buzz, the energy that you get from agave-based spirits is much different than other spirits, in my opinion. And so for me, it just agrees with my body in that way. Where like I love Japanese whiskeys and things like that, flavor profiles.
Yeah.
I love Monkey 47 gin.
Yeah.
But it just feels heavy. It just feels heavier,
Yeah.
Different buzz.
Yeah, gin. I don't know why. I just built such a tolerance for it at this point that if I have gin, I can hold longer than I do any other spirit.
Do you like the really floral gins or?
I like the more, like my favorite would be, I guess, Hendrix because of the cucumber in it. And I think I used to work for a distillery, actually, Surf City, and I really liked their gin too because they were more on the not too dry. Basically, if it's too dry, I don't know why, I just don't gravitate towards it more than something that's a little more. Yeah, how would you?
It sounds like you don't like too many botanicals then.
No, not
because
as many.
Hendrix is a more even keel in that way. Where like you look at Monkey 47 that has 47 botanicals and things in it.
Yeah.
It's very floral, lots of juniper, things like that.
I guess it's also what kind of cocktail I'm having, maybe though, as well.
Of course, yeah.
So I guess that depends on the bartender and like give me something with that, but that I'm gonna also enjoy. But yeah, I'm a good old gin and tonic classic.
Well, you're gonna really like the next cocktail. And
Am I?
Yes, it's got gin in it, and it's what we were really interested in is working with the giants like Casamigos, and then also working with local-based products that are made. So the next one is made with a gin that's out of San Diego.
Nice.
So we're representing all scope of the gamut.
Should, yeah.
As you should. I mean,
And
that's,
the great thing about what maybe when we discussed that time when we were sat at Kimpton, and I was thinking maybe it could be sponsored just by one brand, like it, that works within your story, but like actually representing a whole city by one brand is actually probably it's not helpful for a tourist. It's not helpful to kind of really get a full scope of what a city looks like.
Right.
So from those conversations, it became its own. We are not biased towards anybody, and what we're trying to do is promote all sides of the story, from the big guys. I know for one of the other iterations, I want to tell brand stories. So I want to talk about how that brand was created, because
that's
those
a
things are
really
super
great
important.
concept. I
and
love
then
that.
leading
Right.
into telling maybe Kristin's story of because we all might not be able to create our own liquor brands, but maybe one day, people could be in your position and be able to nurture something through. And just I don't think people realize that those positions exist.
yeah, I think that's a really great point. Yeah, you can't.
Love that.
To create your own liquor brand, that's. I mean, it's not you can't do it. It's just
You gotta
different.
have so much
You gotta have
money.
so much equity or
So
partners
much
and
money
go
to
through.
get- there's
you have to
so
go through
much
so much elements. But
Right.
the fact that you landed in Casamigos and within that you created your own department of it and you bring in your elements. And I think I asked you when we were chatting over there, and I asked you, well, what's the thing that keeps you so loyal to Casamigos? And I mean, I loved your answer, if you don't mind repeating it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great question. I think, well, for me personally, because tequila, agave-based spirits were already my favorite, that was if I was representing a vodka company, I think it'd be a little bit different for me. It wouldn't be as dynamic or interesting. That was huge, but also just I saw early on they were doing things that were really smart that I think a lot of things, unless you're in the industry, it's something that you wouldn't know. Like, for example, the simplicity of the bottle, right?
Yeah.
The time we were one of the only premium tequilas that offered a liter-sized bottle. Everyone was doing 750s. Well, what a liter-sized bottle, what it gives you is a bigger bottle, so better ounce costs for the venue that's bringing it in, which in turn get, retail-wise, better cost for the consumer, right? The simplicity of the bottle as well is, all the money goes into the juice, right? So if you look at there's other brands, I don't need to say which ones, but they can have beautiful bottles, but then the product costs more. Also, when you're a really busy bartender and you're six deep, and what bottle are you going to grab that's easy to hold and pour?
That's a great
right?
point, by
what
the way.
bottle is going to fit in your well, and you're going to put it. These are all the things that, as a bartender, bartenders get in the industry. But I saw that out the gate, that little things that they were doing that I just thought that was so smart. And since then, of course, there's been so many brands that are trying to copy X, Y, and Z of what we do. But I thought that, and I just kind of really carved out my role. I mean, at the time when I got hired about 9 years ago, I was a sales rep. They hired me as a sales rep to build out the most important market in the country for tequila, which is the inner city of Los Angeles. And, I did that. But, about a few months in, I was like, look, there's so much more I can do for you guys.
Yeah.
And I just started creating cocktails for Randy Gerber. He's one of the founders at his Malibu office one day. And I brought my backpack full of ingredients, showed up, and was creating 6 cocktails at a time at Cafe Habana behind his bar and bringing them up. I was like, there's so much that we can do with your tequila, and here are some ideas. And it was just like he'd take one and drink it. He's like, oh, that's so good. Oh, I love the garnish here, and so on and so forth. And I would sit 6 down, go back down, make 6 more, bring it up, go back down, bring 6. And he was like, more? He's like, again? And I'm like, oh yeah, it's like you with your illustrations.
Yeah,
it's just, it keeps coming. It's never ending, and
That's amazing, though.
And here we are many years later, 400 plus recipes easily that I've created for the brand at large. And a lot of these cocktails, by the way, you can go to Casamigos.com and find amazing recipes that highlight all 6 of the various expressions. We have new content that we're going to be adding up to the website in the next couple of weeks for the Casamigos, the jalapeno. I also have a cocktail page called Cocktails by Kristin. Kristin, Kristin, with underscores in between. And so trying to build that up as well.
Yeah.
But video content, imagery as well. And I think the fact that I got to answer your question, the fact that I got to, create a role and then work my tail off to make that happen. And I work with everybody in the company. I work with our marketing team, obviously our sales team, different reps in different areas within the U.S., and then build cocktail content.
Yeah.
So I get to be creative. I get to do a little bit of everything, which for me is a happy medium of it all. Because if I'm just in one category, I get bored very easily.
You get to, but that's amazing. You carved out your own role. You made your own role.
Correct.
And
Yeah.
they hear you, they listen and they trust you. I think that says a lot about the company in general. And so if you don't mind as well, going into also that you also are in LGBTQ. So that is also that's your department in that sense.
Yeah, so I've been in Los Angeles about 18 going on 19 years. I'm from Santa Barbara originally. I predominantly been in West Hollywood for the majority of that time. And I love LA. I love being in a city, but I love West Hollywood in particular because I love the progressiveness, the creativity of it all.
Yeah, the inclusivity, everything.
I find it so interesting in so many different walks of life, and you never know what's going to happen. You're also in between Beverly Hills and Hollywood as far as the location to some of the most iconic venues in the world, and whether it be music or nightlife or restaurants and hospitality. I just think that's very interesting, and just never a dull moment with how to build that out.
No, there's always something
there's
happening
always something
here.
going on.
I mean, this week, I didn't realize how many people were in town this week, by the way. I got here and I'm like, oh, I forgot. I forgot that it's the Netflix a week.
Oh, yes.
The comedian, which I want to go to, by the way. I was thinking of going to the comedy club
Netflix is a joke,
Right.
No, it's
yeah,
gonna be
yeah.
great.
But
And we got Pride coming up.
my gosh,
we are
I
the
know.
official partners for Long Beach Pride, which we're super excited about. They went back to their original dates of May 17th through the 19th.
I'm so happy by that, by the way. I live in Long Beach, and
great.
That's why I was like happy that they brought back those dates.
Yeah.
I didn't know that Casamigos was.
So we are the official
that's
tequila
amazing.
sponsor. Got our CEO to sign off on that, and we're featuring a Casamigos teal margarita with our Blanco, and we're doing a spicy mango cocktail with the new Casamigos jalapeno. And then, you know, of course, we got WeHo Pride, LA Pride, and it's just kind of a domino effect. But
You're gonna be so busy.
You know, I was out for Cinco de Mayo this year in West Hollywood. I had a couple activations going on, and I gotta tell you, like, I haven't seen like the energy of what was happening in that space. I have not seen WeHo like that in 4 years. Even Pride last year, it just didn't match. It wasn't like the WeHo energy.
I agree with that, by the way.
People were dressed up. People were all smiles. I was sitting at a table at the Abbey and just people watching, and it was just like I had not seen. It was an energy. It wasn't just about the number of people that were out. There was a certain like magic to the energy that has been missed sadly for 4 years, and if that's a precursor of Pride whatsoever this year, look out. Like it's gonna be it's gonna be.
You know,
a lot
I
of
actually
fun.
do agree with that though. Like it hasn't been the same, so I'm very
Right.
I don't know. I have a high, hopefully, but there's a different expectation of WeHo Pride this year. So I'm feeling
And maybe
different.
all the prides.
Maybe all the
I
prides,
think
yeah.
all the I think
I
all
think
the
Long
prides-
Beach is going to be insane
Long
because
Beach,
of those dates. Though.
Long Beach is going to be nuts, and it's official. It's the official kickoff.
Yeah,
Right. So
it is. It starts everything.
Right.
That's why we were so disappointed last year. I was like, what happened? It was in August, right?
It was in August.
I was like, I don't like it.
Politics, maybe. I don't know.
I don't know, but yeah,
but
are you going?
I know that a lot of
I'm
people in
always
Long
there.
Beach are super happy about their, you know,
Very,
going back to the
we're
original
very
dates.
happy.
Yeah.
We're like, yes, thank you. You want to
great.
go? Let's go.
I think we know someone that's sponsoring the event. Maybe we can
I
get
think
into a
we
few.
do.
Yeah.
We should call her.
Yeah.
And
Let's do
you're
it.
going to be there, obviously, right?
I'll be there. We're doing a kickoff party at the Westin Hotel, also on Saturday. This Saturday.
Oh, wow.
And so it's for like a bunch of VIPs and people
on.
within the community. And so we're going to be there with our bar and featuring the Casamigos
That's awesome.
jalapeno, among other things. So yeah, never a dull moment.
Yeah, I think that's awesome though. I think that says a lot about just the brand though. They still want to be local and support local communities, and I think that's really great. I think
You
that
have
says
to.
a lot. Yeah,
You have
of course
to,
you do.
yeah.
But not a lot of brands do that. That's why I'm like, this is really nice and interesting to hear that and to
But
see that.
continual support. You've been
Yeah.
there the whole
Continued
way.
support, yeah.
You know,
Right.
you can easily like, hey, we can give you more money to sponsor this event, but they might not do it the following year. I think if anybody's savvy enough,
Right.
stick with the brands that have been there from the beginning. You know, that have,
And that says a
built.
lot to Casamigos. So thank you very much.
And there's so many activations we do in a given year within the
Yeah.
community, and I think people miss that. You know, a lot of brands will show up a month or two before Pride,
Yeah.
and want to have a conversation. But I'm like, there's all year round, we're constantly doing activations. I mean, West Hollywood and LGBTQ at large, they pride themselves on entertainment and really fun concepts and DJs, and there's always something going on.
Yeah.
and I'm working
Bringing
with these
people
accounts
together.
year round. you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have something to
Oh,
do
yes.
next week.
Love it.
So when it comes to back to the book, obviously, because we wanna emphasize on that, you say it's now 200 recipes, right?
No,
200
there's,
pages,
there's,
sorry.
the 200 pages, 54 recipes.
54
'cause
recipes,
There were
sorry.
things like who knew that then I needed glossaries, right? Glossaries at the back of the book
Yeah.
to tell you,
Right.
what glassware to use, like what's sous videing and what's all of that. Like, so the pages suddenly added up,
Right.
but there's 54 recipes. We also have a life hack section in it, which is, I'm a contradiction. So like I like to drink, but I also like to be super healthy. So I have tricks of how to prevent hangovers that are my
I was going
tricks.
to ask that. That was my next
Do
damn
tell.
question.
Yeah.
That was my next damn question
Share your
because I have a
secrets.
recipe. I have my thing.
You have your
Tell
thing.
me yours.
No, tell me yours first.
Dang it. All right, fine. I drink an electrolyte 30 minutes before I go out, and then I take 2 charcoal pills, and then I take a ginger motion sickness pill, all 30 minutes before
Oh,
I start
wow.
drinking. And then I go out and I drink, and then at some point in the night, I have to have another electrolyte. And then when I get home, I have another electrolyte.
Smart.
Amazing.
And then I wake up and I'm not, wanting to die. That's my ritual. But I need more.
It is pretty good. I
Yeah.
throw in like an IV drip in that.
Oh God, I want to do that. Yeah, you're
Infrared
right. That's a good
therapy,
one.
and then a sauna, like an infrared sauna.
Oh, shit.
They're really
That's
good.
really good.
You know, there's a couple of places that do like a short period, like 25 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
rather than recently I've been doing hot yoga classes with a hangover, and they're not so wise. I wouldn't recommend that.
That
But
makes-
with
yeah.
the contained capsules, they're quite good because you can just get yourself out pretty easy if it's too much.
Yeah.
But the process of, as long as you're rehydrated and you have
That's
had
the thing. Hydration.
Yeah,
Is so key.
hydration.
I mean,
100%.
I'm simple. If I'm drinking, a couple cocktails, I have a glass of water in between.
Yeah.
And then that ratio and that in
I
itself
mean, that
does
that is
wonders.
a great
I mean,
way.
it's-
Like it's
I mean,
the
it's
more classic
simple.
way.
It's simple math,
Yeah.
But a lot of people just don't think to have water. They think, well, if I'm drinking water, then I'm going to dilute my buzz. And I'm like, no, you won't. It doesn't affect it in that way.
Yeah. Some
Just
bitters
stretches it
in the
out.
water too.
Right.
To help.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. These are great.
Where do you go
tips.
for your treatments for the
Yeah, I was
infrared?
gonna
and
ask.
the IV?
in the book we've got Next Health, but there's plenty. There's Live. There's also locally, who I can't remember the name of, Arthur.
There's a new one called Pause too.
Ooh,
There is?
I went to. I live in West Hollywood, and just down the street from me, and they have a few locations throughout LA. Yeah.
Ooh, I just want them to come to my home and just.
Yeah, but you pay for that.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
At that
something-
point, when I'm feeling that way, though, I
Yeah.
don't mind. I'm just here.
I know they're great. Definitely, there's a trick of actually doing all of that before you go drinking. So
What?
everything is like,
Really?
if you were doing in a huge event that you really want to look good for, you would do all of like the sauna, the IV
Right.
drip. You do
Yeah,
all of that
pre-evented.
beforehand,
Yeah.
and then that helps kind of combat it. Because like you said, the next day, everything's all about being organized. Make sure you've got your, electrolytes by the side of your bed.
Yeah,
and all your
that's
water.
true.
Make yourself easy, and
We're not 20 anymore.
It's the
We're not
balance of it all. Also,
I miss the 20s.
contrast therapy. Have you heard of that?
No.
No.
Well, that's what Pause calls it, at least. Contrast therapy. It's the idea of going cold plunging and then going into a hot
yeah.
sauna. Right? So you're in the hot sauna for like 2 times the amount of being in the cold plunge, essentially. You go back and forth a number of times.
Yeah.
And just like you just feel so
Yeah.
like clear-headed energy.
Can you
tones
you
down
do the cold
inflammation,
plunge?
everything.
I
Oh, yeah.
can't. Oh my
Oh
gosh.
yeah.
It's
Well, if you're doing it in that fashion,
I guess
it's a
so.
lot easier because you're going back
Yeah.
in the hot sauna to warm up, right? Then versus just going in a cold
Just
plunge.
going- and,
But yeah, the contrast therapy is a good
I'm
one.
weak. I'm weak when it comes to that. That is terrifying for me. Oh my gosh. We got to do
But we
that.
should do that after
You wanna
Pride.
try it?
Just
Yeah.
It's good for the mind,
I love a good plunge. No, I definitely
Everyone
believe in
keeps
them.
saying how the benefits of it, and I want to, but it's hard for me. Yeah.
But that's why you should do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's make a date, all of it. Like,
Yeah.
let's all 3 of us go and
Done.
just dive in and then get out.
Should I go and run and wrangle that gentleman in?
The gentleman is walking over.
But
let's get 'em.
Come on over. We just brought out our next guest. Welcome.
Hello.
And then, if you don't mind, please introduce yourself to the podcast.
Sure.
Yeah.
My name is Tobin Salas. I'm the venue manager here at Hotel Ziggy.
Thank you for being here. Well, you kind of had to be here.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
We are at my,
Yeah.
at my
always
house.
here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I live here. I live on the 5th floor. There's
live on
4
the
floors of the hotel. I live on the 5th one.
Nice.
There
Don't
you go.
ask.
Okay, I won't.
Is that where the Casamigos bar is?
Now we have to ask. All right. So please tell me a little bit about yourself. We want to get to know you and want to get to know what is it that you are accomplishing here at the Ziggy Hotel.
Sure. I grew up in Vermont. And for the 10 years before I moved to LA, I was a musician and tour manager and played in bands and toured around the US. So my background is in live music and production. And then I moved out to LA 2018, 2019. At that point in time, I had started bartending. I was starting to get into the hospitality world. Started to have a lot of fun with it. I was like, oh, this is actually like a fun creative outlet and not just a way to make money when I'm not touring with bands.
Right.
And so over the last couple of years, kind of worked my way into, different jobs, different scenes. And Ziggy was I don't know what to say about it. It was like a chance opportunity. Like, I don't actually remember applying to this job.
Okay.
They scouted you?
Yeah, or something. I don't
Walk
know.
us
Like,
through this process.
so there was that thing that happened in 2020. Does anyone remember that? I don't know.
We haven't
can't quite
talked. We haven't
remember.
talked about it at all.
Thing, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'd been in LA for about a year before
Okay.
COVID happened. I worked some catering stuff, worked some random little bars here and there. COVID hit and everything I was doing died.
Yeah.
My music industry, gone. All the hospitality that I was starting to get into, gone.
Yeah.
All the connections that I had started to make and like feel like I was starting to like find my place in the city, gone. Because everything just disappeared at
You
once.
were so new too.
Because I was so new. Exactly. I was like, all right, cool. Like people are starting to get to know me.
Yeah.
But now they've only known me for, hopefully a year, and now it's gone. There's nothing.
Yeah.
Everyone's gone.
Yeah. Have it quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, it happened really
It
fast.
happened like
it was wild.
that. Yeah.
I remember like I was working at this restaurant called the Eighth Notch in Koreatown at the time, and I remember standing in like the last week that we were open, just like each day, like first there was like 10 people came into the restaurant, and then it was like 7 people came in, and then 5, and then 3, and this was like throughout the whole day.
You watch that like slow motion
Yeah,
almost.
and then all of a sudden, like one shift, I'm just in there, and we were right across from the Line Hotel, and I'm just like standing at these big windows and looking it out, and the Line Hotel windows are all boarded up, and I haven't seen a single guest come into the restaurant in hours, and it wasn't just like a restaurant; it was a food hall too. So there was like I think 6 or 7 different restaurants in this food hall, and we were the bar and like barbecue restaurant in the corner, kind of the flagship restaurant of the food hall. And like each place had slowly closed over the last week. Like there was a Guisado's closed. There was like I think it was a Paisano pizza, they closed. There was like a sushi bowl spot that closed. This was like we were like the last man standing.
And then you finally.
And then I was
that
like, wow,
notice
that was weird.
saying-
And I left. And the next day I got a message from my boss, and he was like, hey, don't come back to work. There's no more.
Not happening.
Yeah,
And
we're
then
not
I mean,
reopening.
the news isn't helping right at that time.
Yeah,
it's just
exactly.
like all the world is shutting down.
Yeah,
And so
to
how did
see
that-
it happening in real time was wild. To
Yeah.
see that.
So from that time to then
Yeah, so
here, how did that happen?
there was, everyone sat in their houses for 6 months. I played video games for a while. I don't know. I went back to Vermont for a little bit because I, just to see family. I drove.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know how else I'm supposed to go, so I just packed up my apartment, drove back across the country, visited friends and family, came back out here, and I was like, well, the city's reopened, because I was still like, we didn't know, like, is it going to open next week? Is it going to stay closed for another 6 months? Are we ever going to open in the world again? We don't know still.
Yeah.
Came back out to the West Coast. I was like, if the city's not open, I'm going to the mountains. Because I also snowboard growing up in Vermont, on the East Coast. I'm a big fan of winter. So we went, me and my girlfriend at the time moved up to the Mammoth area. I worked there for the winter. Bartended at the resort and snowboarded all winter, and it was great.
Yeah.
Well, just kind of like waiting and like touching base with a couple people I knew back here in LA, being like, hey,
Anything happening
anything
yet?
happening yet? No? Okay, starting to. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And she was still doing some work down here, so she would come down every now and then, kind of bring word back to the mountain, like, oh, there's 3 more restaurants have opened up, and in Los Angeles, it's a miracle.
Yeah. And I think Ziggy was already starting out,
so
right? Like, no, Ziggy's actually
So
quite
at that
new.
point in time, I think this was the Grafton, and during COVID, I guess, I wasn't here during that time, but I guess that's when they started to do the remodel of the whole hotel, because they were like, the Grafton as a model, it's not really working that well. Let's try something new, something fresh.
Right.
They brought in this designer, Andrea, I can't remember her last name.
That's
I'll look it up.
There's an
We'll add it
Andrea
in
out
post.
there who worked at Ziggy.
Yeah.
I remember the Grafton.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember all that. Yeah.
And the Grafton was cool, right? I guess. I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
was
But I
over
think
here.
that the music and everything you guys do here is a huge.
I think the
hub.
concept
You
of
know, the
here
concept
now.
people can relate to,
relate
especially
it,
being
yeah.
LA. You
Exactly.
know?
100%.
Yeah.
They totally revitalized it, but
Is that what gravitated you towards here, obviously, because you're a musician?
well, yeah. So so I came back, got back to the city. I actually went back to the East Coast for a minute, did some music stuff there, came back, and I was like, all right, it's November. I'm gonna look for a job, and I just started dumping job applications everywhere. So
Yeah.
it's like places are starting to reopen, but like still kind of weird. It's LA in November. Anyone who lives here knows that that's actually like no one is from here, so everybody leaves during the holidays. So it's like everything kind of was re-shutting down again almost for the slow season of the holidays. So no one was hiring. They're like, yeah, well, we have our staff.
Yeah.
Like we're not going to hire anybody. So I was just kind of like sitting around twiddling my thumbs, sending out application after application. Someone calls me, hey, I'm the food and beverage director at Hotel Ziggy. It's this hotel with craft cocktail program that does live music. It's rock and roll themed. It's brand new. We want you to be part of the opening team. I was like, what?
And that sounds like
Yeah,
perfect.
There you go.
Did you write
Yeah.
that for me? Like, what?
You're like, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and that kind of started me off here. I got hired as the lead bartender. And I did that for a year here before taking over as the venue manager.
Right on.
Which kind of got to combine my hospitality.
Yeah, you're both
experience
loves
with
over
my
there.
music.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay. That is so
And-
cool.
Yeah, and now I'm here.
And would you say this might be your favorite room because of the drum set or
Yeah,
no?
this is
Have you
definitely one
performed
of-
here, by the way? Have you ever played here?
Yeah, I've
Yeah?
played here a couple times. Yeah.
Right on. That's so cool. And then how did you two meet then? How did this?
We met, I don't remember the exact day, but we met, I'm pretty sure by me just coming in and, our friend Aaron.
Aaron Collaborators. Yeah, right.
So Aaron does a lot of, he works with Hotel Ziggy among a lot of other venues within Los Angeles. He's a DJ, but he also does a lot of like marketing stuff. And then he's a part of the LGBTQ community. And him and I, ironically, used to work together when I worked at the Standard.
Okay.
Standard, their flagship on Sunset back in 06 to 09. I worked there as a server, one of the key servers on the pool deck there. And he was one of the managers at the time. And it was funny at the time, him and I always saw eye to eye because I think him and I always were bigger picture where, it's a hotel. It can be tough with like corporate and whatever else, but some of our concepts were too off the wall for some of the other managers. And overall, like he ended up leaving and then I just felt like I was capping out there and left it when I did too, to kind of pursue other things. But we came around and kind of met full circle years later with him doing what he does and me with Casamigos. And we've partnered up many, many times, various different properties throughout Los Angeles, Hotel Ziggy being one of them.
Yeah. Okay. Got it. And so that's what brought you here.
Yeah.
And then you met.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and that was also like the revamp of Hotel Ziggy at large. The remodel from Grafton, which I knew the Grafton prior, and I was like, yeah, let's build some stuff out. And we've done a lot of activations together, Tobin and I. We just had a call earlier this week. He reached out about some stuff that he's doing for Pride. For that whole weekend at large, and I was like, let's do it. Let's figure out a way we can connect and feature,
collaborate,
feature Casamigos, feature the jalapeno, and we're in the process of building these huge backdrops as well, 8 by 8 foot backdrops that have our essentially like our Pride logo with "Love is love is love" over and over again for like a kind of a step and repeat, if you will, where people can take photos. And we have these amazing portable bars that we created just last year with that same graphic for Pride. We also have a Casamigos teal one. One that the Hotel Ziggy's been using at large for events. And Pride last year, they threw some killer parties also.
Oh, that is so exciting.
We had a table with the Casamigos crew and some industry and some friends and blew it out. It was a lot of fun.
Oh, that is so cool. Okay, so you there's so much creativity in your position as well.
Yeah.
And that's what we were talking about earlier, how there's so much creativity just that comes out of this, that's just within this community right here.
And that's like the fun of West Hollywood. I feel like it's like it's a creative city. It's like I mean, I think Katie Brightside in her book. It's like this is the creative city.
It is.
Yeah.
That's what it's known for that.
It's known for that. That's what the book represents so much. Is that there's so much creativity out here. It's just like never ends. And so when it comes to you and your music background, I mean, you bring that element into this hotel in general, obviously. But is that something that is really a big like priority for you to like, it's rock and roll, right? Are you like a rock and roll kind of guy?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. And then so how often is this space like booked for performances, or what's the nightlife here? Nightlife like here?
We do shows at Ziggy like 5 to 7 nights a week. And summertime, once the pool parties start, that means that we have events almost 9 times a week.
Wow.
Which is awesome.
Those sound like fun pool parties.
And it was interesting because like, again, like being in a hotel with a corporate corporate team backing it.
Yeah.
A lot of the hoteliers who have run all these other properties in the area had never done a real music venue or like really knew how to work with that. So like the first year that we were open, when I was behind the bar, we had some great events for sure, but they were more like few and far between.
Yeah.
Kind of bigger, like not really utilizing the space in the capacity that
Yeah.
it needed to be utilized.
Right. Or the way you envision, maybe you were over there, you're like, oh, we could do this, we could do this, I could bring this person in. And like, you just were like, just let me at it.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So those little things. And so taking over was like one of my first goals when I kind of took over that role of bringing the music in. As I was like, we should have stuff in here 7 nights a week.
Yeah.
Because people also didn't know that this is a music venue. Like it was like, that first year, every time we had an event, every guest in here was like, wow, this place is so cool. I had no idea you were here. And it's like, it's a new business, essentially, a new concept. So it takes a while to build that name. But I was like, well, to build the name, we need to just put something in here every single night. Be so consistent that there's always an event happening. Now we've gotten to the point, a year of that later, we've gotten to the point where it's like, okay, now we don't need to do every single event that comes our way. We can be a little more selective and like really put in the shows that are awesome and like work with really great partners like Casamigos. And which has been just so cool to kind of see that growth happen.
That growth, that relationship just unfold so well. And I think we were talking about that in the earlier podcast with like Katie and how it all just like collaborates and how people just want to help each other out. And that's what, the show is all about is, giving you a voice, Katie, of course. And I love that Katie is the one who brought us all together, and how music, bar, cocktails, illustrations, a podcast, like everything comes in its own way, and we all want to collaborate in some form. And I think the biggest thing about this is that, there's so much that the city offers. And I think we're all like in agreement that, come explore this city because there's so much here. There's so much to do here. And we were talking about this. You're never bored here. I will say that for a fact. Like I'm never bored here. There's always something to do. Yeah. And, one thing we didn't, go through is that we have one more cocktail. And then would you mind, who wants to explain what this cocktail is and like introduce this cocktail? Anybody?
This is the...
Well, I don't... Yeah, Katie. I'm not sure everything that's in this cocktail. Yeah.
Okay, so this is the 1542. It's made with your favorite. It's made with
my
gin.
My lovely gin.
And it's at Le Parc Hotel, which is another Springboard Hospitality Group hotel. Ooh. And so when we were doing R&D for the project, we distinctly made each of the cocktails differently at each of the different properties. Okay. Because there's like 4 of them in total. I'll come down on my knees. I can sit between rose between two thorns, maybe. I don't know.
Love it.
Yeah, so that was one of the things that we were looking at. And then in the 4th property, we have champagne, because who doesn't want to get to a hotel and open a bottle of champagne? 100%. I know definitely if I've been flying, I'm like,
yeah, this is a great cocktail. And yes, I love my gin. So yes, this is my favorite one. Oh, it's so fresh. This is perfect because it's finally a sunny damn day. Because we've had a lot of rain.
It's been gorgeous.
And I shouldn't complain too much. We're like complaining, and there's people. My family from Chicago gets so mad at me. Yep. Because they're like, this is nothing.
The windy city.
Like, chill, Natasha.
There's a reason I moved here from Vermont,
Yeah.
I know.
So anyway, I'm not going to complain too much, but yes, it's sunny today, and I love it. And so this cocktail is just like my little glimpse of summer, I think. And I love that. So yeah, that just goes to show how cocktails can take you to so many places. And it already took me to summer. And I think that's the beautiful part. Hey, sorry, one quick question. When you have someone try a cocktail in front of you and they really love it, do you think that's one of the best rewards ever?
Oh, I mean, of course.
Because I love, I go out of my way to, when especially if a bartender's super busy, I'm like, hey, real quick. I'm like, I love this. Thank you so much. Oh, and I think that's something that every bartender kind of really likes. So,
well, the real testament is people can always love a cocktail. They may love the garnish, the color, the flavor profile. But the real testament is if they order a second one at the bar.
Ooh. Okay, yeah. I've ordered 3.
That's when you really know.
I've ordered a few.
Yeah.
And interject quickly on the book, we were very spoiled when we did R&Ds. We go directly to like the best bartender in the house, right? Of each bar. So we were spoiled with like it tasted amazing, which is the reason the recipe's in the book.
Yeah.
Right.
And then you might start doing a tour with your friends.
Sure.
It's your birthday. I don't know. I have many of them a year. Just every day's a birthday.
Always something to celebrate.
Mine was
Yep.
just passed.
But, you know,
Nice.
we go into a bar and, you know, the cocktail is not made with love because what we were experiencing sometimes, you know, they've got X amount of, you know, bodies to get through, you know, and they're just like shake and make, right?
Right.
You know, sometimes it's very difficult. And it's really, you can start seeing, there's been a bar, which I really love, Bar Next Door, that's just opened.
Yeah,
I've heard.
yeah, that's Bryn.
She's amazing, right? Like every time I go in there.
Super talented.
But she's trained every one of her staff to
Yeah.
make it like she's made it with
Right.
love.
That
And
I have
that-
so much respect
Right.
for
And
that.
that's why
It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
we often can't be compared to New York because
Yeah.
a lot of the times you go to New York and go to some of those
It's true.
bars, they make them so perfect, and
Right.
you want to go back.
Yeah.
It's the reason McDonald's exists, right? You want to go back to McDonald's
Consistency.
because,
Yeah.
It's always about
I mean,
consistency.
I think that says a lot too. Why in a corporate setting, you know, when you go to corporate places, every cocktail that you have is the same in this city and this city and this city, and so I think that when a small business or a bar like that does that, I think it's so like I have such a massive respect for it.
which is
When
why
I go
they've
one
been
day and then
nominated
the
for
other.
awards this year. So
Yeah.
we're like,
Hey.
cheers to Bryn.
Great.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, that's so amazing.
Yeah, that's super old school, that concept though. I like sadly, you know, with COVID, you know, a lot of industries have been sideways. And so, you know, some of these things have been lost where just venues are just trying to survive and get by. And then the influx of a lot of seasoned people in the industry sadly have left. And then you have a lot of people that are, you know, really green and new to the whole concepts about, you know, how things are built out and what they're doing. And venues are still, you know, short-staffed right now.
Yeah,
These are real
Yeah.
things. And so
And they
when
really
you're
are
looking
trying
at, when you're
hard.
looking at those variables, it's hard to do what Bryn is doing.
Yeah.
Because of those variables. But she has a solid team and great at what she does. But I think that's part of
Yeah.
it too.
Yeah.
Without question.
But you can definitely taste that difference in a cocktail. You know, it's like you can
Oh,
have the
yeah.
exact same drink. Like you can go to sit down at a bar, have
Absolutely.
one bartender make the same drink as another bartender, and one
And
of
it's
them
different.
loves making that drink,
Yeah.
and the other one is like, "Fine, here you go,"
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
and they taste completely different.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, and you don't
Yeah.
want
Yeah.
that to be your experience.
No.
You want it to be that it's on point every time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And to bring it back, the reason why we started this you started this podcast
Yeah.
was to highlight these businesses.
100%.
And with businesses slowly going under, these are things to actually think about. Like, are your staff happy? Do they want to be there?
Yeah.
Because if we're not tasting it in the drinks, we're not coming back. So, you know,
Yeah.
it's like, it's one of those things.
Well, especially when you're spending $25 on a cocktail these days. I mean,
Plus
these numbers are just outrageous with
These numbers
inflation.
are outrageous, but I mean,
Yeah.
if you think about it, when sometimes you can't, as a business owner, it's quite hard because you have to be, you're liable for everything, and then you have to keep them happy with their pay, and then you have to keep them happy with their PTO, you have to keep them happy with their vacation day. Like it's just
Oh, yeah.
it's
so
crazy
much.
how
No,
much
it's-
effort goes into it. So I think the thing I try to advocate is that we have to try to have empathy for every element of it. I want to have empathy for the bartender, but I also want to have empathy for the business owner who's, you know, you don't know what they're going through. I mean, they're probably waking up one day with only a few thousand in their account, and then they have payroll 3 days later.
No, that's why I'm
insane,
saying what
you
I'm
know? Like,
saying.
yeah, it's
is
just
you
like,
have an
wow.
influx of all these new
Yeah.
green people, and you're
insane.
understaffed, which
Yeah.
could be considered a double negative, right? It's
Yeah.
like, how are you making this all balance?
Yeah.
You know?
And what's the, I think, I wouldn't say it's unfortunate that we can't just go and like wave a magic wand and say, here's the solution. But one of the things that I think would help is that, you know, the local community, I think you guys can help. And, you know, what we can do is, for example, you know, we just talked about how much you had to hustle. Like you had to go on a bus to go sell this book and to make sure that people buy your product. It's
Love
like
it.
go to, you know, the local stores where this book is available and, you know, and support it and go buy it, you know. Go to your local bar and go and just try to have some empathy and understand that they're just trying the best that they can, and go support your local bar. Go support your local restaurant. Go support this, you know, amazing hotel who's working on something and who wants to be an advocate for, these musicians and wants to give a music space. And I think that's the premise of this whole show, is that we just all need to show up for each other and have some empathy on where we're each coming from and where everyone is just, like I said, everyone's just trying to make it and trying to be somebody. And you guys are a total result of that. None of you are from this city. Neither am I. I mean, I was born in Orange County, but I'm pretty close by. But you're from Vermont. By the way, I didn't know you lived in Australia for 10 years.
I know.
Too. Yeah, you lived in.
Like,
you had a lot of
jealous.
lives.
My name
and
is
you're from
Jamie
Santa Barbara. But you're all came to this city and you stayed here for a reason. And I think that's amazing. And one thing I would love to know from each and every one of you is, what would be your advice to somebody who just got here to the city and is, trying to find what they want to do or trying to figure out where their place is? Like, what would be a good tip for you when you arrive to this city?
Don't stop moving.
Ooh, it's a good one.
Like the song.
Don't stop moving or don't stop believing. I automatically went to don't stop believing, but don't stop moving. Yeah.
I think for me is to keep at it. A lot of people come to this city and they want to be rich and famous, right? I mean, Hollywood is like known for that. And they think it's going to happen overnight. And a lot of people want something for nothing. And if you want to, I think it's consistency over time, right?
Yeah.
And all of it takes hard work. There's no shortcuts to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's a really, really great part of advice. What would be yours, Katie?
Along the way, I've met some really interesting people, and I guess is to be in tune with your natural ability to understand who's a good person and who's not a good person.
There's a lot of that too.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that in LA.
Because
This can be a whole other episode.
Yeah. Intuition, if it doesn't feel right, don't do it. Like,
Right.
it's,
Your gut.
It's amazing. And sometimes those things you're supposed to learn. I've been lucky with my little run, but I know others, and I have, especially pretty young girls that arrive. I'm just using from what I know, and I'm just be mindful of these people, and lo and behold, stories come out, and it's just like, you just make sure you know what you're doing and when you're doing it. It's just and always, if you're with people you don't know, be careful on how much you drink and where your drink's left. It's just like, it's a very...
Yeah, there is a conversation about
city.
that, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it sucks that we have to have that conversation. Yeah. It sucks that it is a conversation. But I think back to being positive is also, I would say that in my sense, find your people, find your circle. And I think it's really great when you can find, even if it's two people that have your back and who don't let you get into an Uber alone at the end of the night, or who are watching you or go to the restroom with you, or who just are there to listen to your horrible breakup story and who want the best for you. I think it's like find your crew and stick to them, and don't let yourself go with the illusion of what someone can possibly give you instead of the person who's been with you through the
Solid
depth.
foundation.
Yeah,
It's key.
solid
Yeah,
In
you gotta
Los
believe in
Angeles,
yourself, and you gotta
Yeah.
One thing I said when I first moved here too that I realized was like, this city, like it's overwhelming for sure. It's huge. There's so many things you can do, and like,
Yeah.
Right.
I think for some people who come out here and aren't here for like a specific reason, they can become overwhelmed and feel just like, I don't know where to go now. It's like it's too much. But at the same time, because there's so much opportunity, if you come out here with a goal and a purpose, like you can achieve whatever it is that you want.
Yeah.
Because there's all the resources here for whatever it is that you want to do out here.
Yeah.
Good examples of
And
that.
you guys are, I was about to say that. You guys are a perfect example of that, of what you've accomplished. And you guys are not done yet. I mean, you're not done, you're not done, you're not
Definitely
done.
not
And you guys are
done.
just getting started.
Yep.
And it's all just getting fun. And I'm really happy. I'm really happy that I got to meet all three of you. And it's going to be a fun summer, I'll tell you that. That's for damn sure.
It's going to be a spicy summer too.
Spicy summer.
Jalapeno.
When you bring in a jalapeno bottle is the question.
What's
We
that?
got them
That
here.
jalapeno.
We got 'em here.
They have it.
Oh,
Yeah.
so-
Oh,
I had
they've already been pouring it.
I had them on my shelves before they had them on the market.
Damn. Who's ahead of the curve? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to go over there now later.
Yeah, we could do it. We can do a shot at the bar.
I'm
Yeah.
so down. Yeah, let's go do a
Absolutely.
shot.
Yeah,
at
we
the bar.
should.
Yeah, I'm super down. We'll
Final
do a
final shot.
final shot. Yeah.
Final
Oh
shot.
gosh.
Little shot at the bar.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay. And I mean, do you guys have anything else that you would like to kind of take, like future, any projects coming up that you want to tell, the community? I mean, this is going to be airing pretty much right by Pride. So, I mean, there's so much that's going to happen in the next few weeks. Anything you guys want to promote?
Well, for us, I mean, we just shot a bunch of new content for Pride that we're super excited about, that will be featured on various menus throughout the country. Some may go to our website. And then we're partnering up with, a lot of local venues throughout. I mean, obviously, Hotel Ziggy being one of them with Tobin. Yeah, I mean, they're doing a massive weekend event, 3-day event. And we'll be featured, and we're still figuring out all the details and stuff like that. But
I got to write the cocktails.
Yeah, we got to finalize the cocktails and the pricing. But like one thing that we do is we help with menus, signage. Again, we got these bars. I'm talking to a advertising company right now about these big bottles that we can create, inflatable concepts, and then also some that can be hung from the ceiling that are cardboard that are going to be featuring our new Casamigos logo, or the label rather.
It's very cool.
And any ways for like advertising, because it's going to be obviously huge volume visibility with traffic and people out, partying and celebrating throughout the weekend. And so, super excited. We're the official partners for Long Beach Pride this year, which we're very excited about. We're going to be featuring the teal margarita with the Blanco, and then spicy mango cocktail with the Casamigos, and just again but we support all these venues year round. I think that's an important conversation, that we're very much about that all the time, and then also just new content that's coming out for the Casamigos at large. For the jalapeno, we shot a bunch of new content cocktail-wise. Some I've already uploaded to the website at casamigos.com, and then we have more that are going to be implemented throughout the year, which is very exciting. Yeah,
I love that. And I think one thing that I really want to highlight is that even though Casamigos is now a really big brand, I got to say it again, that I'm very, very glad that they are so supportive of, not just, obviously LGBTQ, but they're so supportive of just the city and the communities. And I think that I really want to emphasize that. And I want to say, like, obviously, thank you for doing that, because once you're a big brand and you hit it, you don't have to do that. But I love that.
But these activations, thank you for saying that. But these activations are incredibly important for what we call 100%. The on-premise, which is hotel groups, bars, restaurants, to keep that going. It's like a machine. You can't just stop it. Even when you think that you can, it's like you almost got to go harder. You know what I mean? For the industry at large, but for all the different demographics and all the opportunities that come up in a given year.
Yeah.
So
and I love
important.
that it is all year round. That's what's important too, to emphasize on it. It's all year round. It's not just that, there's a high season coming around and let's just slap on our logo
all
and
year.
That's it.
It's never stopped.
Like
I'm busy all year. I mean, second week of January, people are like knocking, calling. It's just like it's never ending.
Dang. Yeah. We talked about that. You're taking a vacation.
Yeah, I need a vacation.
You got a vacation.
Spain this year.
Spain. There you go. Katie, what about you?
I'm just peddling the book. And so if you want to support the book, please buy the book from one of the many places that I've already mentioned, Fred Segal. You can buy it from Amazon from my personal account, or you can buy it from the website. What's my name? It's just like my other one. It's like onceuponacocktail.world, because I'd really appreciate it. Like, it took an army to create this, and any support. And until I sell those last 1,300 books, I can't go and do the second city. So come on, please help me support.
Let's go. Yeah,
it's a beautiful book.
Yeah,
let's do it.
Yeah, I know. And just irony, both of them have turned up to my house and opened their trunk, and I've put books in them. So I'm like, I
love it.
I love it.
The whole grassroots of this.
I got an
just
SUV.
ridiculous.
Let's go.
Yeah,
let's go, girl.
I know.
I'm so down. Pride is such a great opportunity to
you can
go
hustle.
Do that. I'm down.
Yeah.
Man, if you met my dad, you would know why. I'm a hustler, man. That guy used to sell soccer balls outside of stadiums. Yeah.
You gotta hustle.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, in this town too, you gotta hustle. There's so much competition.
I think that would have been another great advice. Like you have to be on it. You have to
be the
hustle.
biggest
You
advocate
can't
for
just,
yourself. Always.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
That's so true. But yeah, Katie, I honestly feel like it's just gonna be one of those things where I think when people watch this episode, they're really gonna be so focused on this book and being wanting to support it, because we all want to support you.
It's a beautiful book.
Oh,
It is.
Just
It's
to
a
notice,
beautiful book.
Kristin Clark one day, right? Do you want to tell the story? about the call that you had. So somebody like one of the first 5 books, I basically heard it was to quite some prevalent people around here, but the other 3 books were to the owners of Casamigos. But the CEO called you one day, right?
Yeah, so what I did is
What?
I bought a number of books, right, to
Yeah.
support, of course, but also I loved the book, and I gave some to my family, some friends, industry at large, accounts, and I also gifted a book each to the founders of Casamigos, which is, George
that's
Clooney,
amazing.
Randy Gerber, Mike Meldman, which they all love, by the way. But I also gave one to our CEO, of course, Lee Einsler. He was also, by the way, the CEO at the time that helped make Grey Goose big. Right, Grey Goose, and he was part of Sidney Frank, which was Jägermeister, among other things. So, and then also our EVP, Adam Rosen, and they're based in New York. And I sent it to them, and whatever. And he called me, and he was like, "So this book," he's like, "This is amazing. This is fantastic. What a beautiful book." And he had nothing but great things to say. And he's obviously a very busy guy. So it was quite the testament to your hard work and your creativity
amazing.
behind it. And I, of course, called Katie and shared that news.
How did that feel?
I think I cried.
Yeah, I almost want to, because I'm like, I know how freaking good that feels. I'm trying not to curse because I curse so much. But yeah, no, we'll fucking curse. That must have felt fucking great. Absolutely.
It did. It's
Yeah.
just being seen.
Yeah.
Right,
a lot
it's
of the
huge.
time, I
That's
didn't
what
leave
it
my
is,
house
yeah.
for 9 months whilst I was drawing. So
Yeah.
to then be seen for something that I created during that time,
Yeah.
just really appreciate everybody that came together for this.
Yeah.
It's just a lot.
And more to come. I mean, more to
There's
come.
so
I mean,
much
this
more.
is
I mean, the
it's a
concepts
process, right?
Yeah.
Like, that was part of my advice was like, it takes time to build these things out, but it's that consistency over time.
Yeah.
I think that people miss, and there's more things are going to come with this book for sure.
Yeah. And a
Yeah.
and a show.
Yeah.
And a helicopter. And
I missed
Uber
that part.
helicopter.
Helicopter's
Oh
in your
yeah.
show?
An
Let's
Uber
go.
helicopter.
I love
Watch
it.
the show now. You have to watch the
You're gonna have to tune in.
No.
Subscribe.
Okay, I'll tune in and subscribe.
Yeah. And then any projects that are coming up for you?
I mean, like I said, at Ziggy, we have shows all the time, so come
Yeah.
by and enjoy some Casamigos cocktails, enjoy
Yeah,
some
it's
live
the place
music.
to go for live music for
Come
sure.
party with us on a weekend this summer for one of our poolside events.
Oh gosh, yeah.
We've got
I gotta
we've got
go
a
to
great
that.
summer planned. And
I know, it sounds really fun.
Yeah, and on top of the events, like we're only going to be elevating our food and beverage over here too. So trying to do some exciting things, a little off the cuff.
Yeah.
The nice thing about this being a small hotel with a small team is and again, it's Creative City. We're allowed to be very creative with what we run, what our
Yeah.
program is over here. So
And that's really amazing though, that they
it's
let
really
you be
exciting.
creative.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
And it's like even though we're corporate and we have certain things we are supposed to do, there's such a lot of leeway that they give us to just be free and like create amazing cocktails, create wild food,
Yeah.
do abstract events and shows. Like we'll have cabarets with dancers in the bar and
No
in
way.
the lobby and
What?
and
I
bands
didn't know
in
that.
here and
Yeah.
We could do a watch party
Sponsored
or
by
yeah.
Casamigos jalapeno, please.
Yeah, let's do it. We'll do
Yeah.
some featured cocktails for the night.
Yeah.
Let's do it. That would be really fun.
Why
I'm
not?
super
Easy.
down. All right, let's do that. That's gonna happen. All right,
Right,
perfect.
we'll look forward to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here. I am forever grateful for all of your guys' time because you guys are busy, and we definitely, this is probably my longest episode, I will say.
Oh,
And
wow.
I'm
Great.
really proud of that because there was so much to talk about, and there's so many things that we still have to talk about, and we can always do a second, third episode, so that's
Love
fine.
that.
Yeah.
We're lucky enough, they have Springboard Hospitality have 4 venues. So, like, you've got
We'll just hotel hop all
Yeah.
over. Yeah, that's awesome. So, all right, guys. Well, thank you so much again for being here. And all your social media handles will be shown right now. Please follow all of these great guests. Follow all of the venues as well. And please go buy this book, Once Upon a Cocktail. It's available for everybody. And if you're a local or not, you can get it. And I strongly, strongly advise that you get it because these cocktails are
Salud. Thank you so much for having us.
Yes, thank you for
Appreciate
having
it.
us.
And let's obviously say thank you to Katie because Katie brought us all together.
Of course.
And,
Thank you, Katie.
the
now-
magical glue.
Cheers, babe.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers,
Thank
love.
you so much.
Cheers. And
everyone.
well, you can get this episode on all streaming platforms and YouTube as well. Follow us all, support everything that we are all doing because that's what this episode is all about, support. So, thank you for another episode of Lightbulbs with Natasha, and we'll see you very soon.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you. Cheers. All right.